You've landed in the confidence zone with Susan Axelrod, the confidence coach. This is a place for topics of information and inspiration, a place to support you to find your confidence, get bold, and get going. Activation is needed today at all levels. Don't wait for someone else to lead. Lead now where you are with what you have. Your energy and enthusiasm matters. Believe it or not, it impacts all of us. Find your confidence, get bold, and get going. Hello, friends. Susan Axelrod here, the confidence coach. Welcome to the confidence zone. I know that sometimes social media can be difficult, even a cesspool. I know, I get it. I made a choice a long time ago to use my social media platform for good. I focus on two platforms in particular, Facebook and LinkedIn. I don't have time to really tend to more than that. And I use the platforms to learn, grow, have things revealed to me, and then also share, inspire, and motivate. One of the groups I'm on Facebook is my college alumni group called MHC Over 40. I went to Mount Holyoke College, and in that group, it's constant inspiration for me. I don't tend to remember all the details, but my guest today is someone who posted a bit about the journey from work to living the dream. I read her post and I contacted her and asked her if she would be willing to come join me in the confidence zone to share her story, because after all, who doesn't want to be living their dream? So I am delighted to welcome Susan Mund to the confidence zone. Hi, Susan. Thank you for joining me today.
My pleasure.
Honestly, I meant every word that I said, that I do use Facebook for good. I do suffer from the difficult stuff that's there, but I'm looking for inspiration. I look for inspiration. And I wanted to have this conversation with you because I do believe there is inspired material that you can share that others need to hear right now. Now, we had a little bit of a conversation in what I call the green room before we came, live onto this conversation, and you began to share, the dream can have an ugly side too. So we're going to get to that as well. But before we get there, I want to ask you to share a bit about how you came to be the owner of Newstead Equestrian Center, which is one of the largest horse boarding facilities located in Western New York. This center, I looked at your website, I saw the YouTube video of this beautiful center. It's a 26-stall horse boarding facility situated on 56 acres with two large outdoor arenas, a huge indoor arena, viewing room, and trails that can be used by boarders. How did you get to be the owner of this magnificent place?
It's, I guess, a long story, but we'll abbreviate it a little bit. So my parents are the sons and daughter of immigrants who came into New York City, not through Ellis Island, but during the 1890s. I'm Jewish, so my family was escaping the pogroms in Russia and Austria-Hungary at the time. And both my parents love animals and had gone to the Catskills to go riding. So I was fortunate that shortly after I was born, my mother wanted to get out of the city and I think away from her relatives, and moved us to Connecticut, where my sister was born. And we had cats primarily because we lived in a subdivision. And when I was 7, I was gifted with horseback riding lessons, and that was it. I mean, I'd been on pony rides and I loved horses, so that's what I wanted to do. And then early on, my father joined the first company governor's horse guards. It's, I think, the oldest continuously operating cavalry unit in the United States, or one of the oldest. So he volunteered, and that got him the ability to give his daughters free riding lessons on donated horses that they used in the ceremonies at the state of Connecticut.
Oh.
And they were also trained in crowd control. They used the horses for that. So a mounted unit. So that was quite exciting. And then when I was 14, my mother bought land and designed and general contracted a new house for us. Upon the land, we had about 6 acres. My father and I think my sister even helped, we built a barn. My father actually had taught shop, industrial arts, and I don't know what they call it now, but he knew something. And my mother just learned to do things. We didn't have a lot of money, so we did it ourselves. This is before YouTube, before anything. My mother did all the tile work, all the finished plumbing, did all the contracting for this house. And so I had horses in my backyard starting when I was 14. And then, of course, I went to Mount Holyoke College, where I could not afford to bring my horses, but it was only an hour or so away from home. And I used to bring fellow students, and we'd go home for the weekend and ride.
Wow.
I made a lot of friends that way.
Yeah.
And then I had a great degree in biology, and I thought, I'm going to be a park ranger, work for the Department of Environmental Conservation. And Reagan got elected, and I graduated in 82. There were no jobs to be had because, oh yeah, he's doing what Trump's doing now, and axed all of the environmental programs, all the national parks, lost staff, so I couldn't do anything. So my mother had a master's actually in business education. I learned to type when I was 7. Keep in mind, the IBM PC was created and first for sale around 1980.
Yeah.
So we're in college.
Yeah.
We had green screens. There might have been an Apple around.
It was called a Macintosh in those days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apple. The Apple one. So there wasn't much, and I couldn't find a job. My mother said, that's it, you type. She taught me to type as part of her master's degree. I think I'd learned to type when I was 9 or 10. And she made sure I took typing in high school. So I got a job as a clerk typist. And first job lasted a year, but I got to do statistical analysis on a DEC VAX and work a word processor. So typing, and of course my Mount Holyoke education and my English skills got me that job. The next job I got working for a not-for-profit, which was not-for-profit for housing, low-income housing, energy conservation loans, all that. So the 7 or 8 years I was there, I took my skills and donated computers and created a local area network and taught myself everything I could learn at that time about personal computing and networking.
Wow.
Which I had continued to do until I retired last year at the age of 65. So I've worked in many industries. I've worked in insurance, health insurance, construction, not-for-profit community action organization. I was an IS director there. So it really, I've had a lot of experience. And so that's how I made my money. I was in a 6-figure salary when I retired, but my true love has always been horses and animals. So I worked in an office, and I thought, well, when I get married or whatever, I will get my own house. I moved out in an apartment, and then I met a guy, and he actually bought me a horse for an engagement present.
Wow, that's an engagement present.
Yeah, and at the
Oh,
time, it was $1,400. I mean, for us, that was a lot of money.
yeah.
And I boarded him back at my mother's place for a little bit. And then he registered. He was a golden palomino. So I tell people, instead of an engagement ring, I got a golden horse.
Yeah.
He registered. His registered name was my engagement ring. I called him Trigger because he looked like it. I had him for 22 years.
Wow, 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 wow.
So then, taking my skill set that I learned from my mother, I decided I wanted a house with land, and I knew that I could do what my mother did. And I designed and built my own house in Colchester, Connecticut, so about half an hour outside of Hartford.
Oh.
And we built, I think, a nice house. It was a passive solar salt box. I was working for the not-for-profit housing agency at the time. I got a low interest construction loan, and I got help designing all the passive solar features of that house.
Wow.
And then my father gifted me with a second horse because in 1990, I was riding no helmet, very bad. And my horse got stung by a bee, went up, and I went back off of him and cracked my skull. Traumatic brain injury. I was unconscious for 2 days. I had a helicopter ride to the hospital, and I wake up there, and my mother is super mad. What the hell are you thinking? I got out of the hospital and went home, and my sister's a PhD in clinical and neuropsychology. And at that point, my father was now a vocational rehabilitation counselor for the state of Connecticut. And they got me a neuropsychologist, and I rehabbed for about 6 months.
Wow.
Ride for a year, which was the most depressing part.
Right.
And I did go back to work after that 6 months when I could drive again. And I used my horse as therapy. The instructor I found would come to the house and help me learn. And that's when I decided to take up dressage, because it's a whole big control thing. So I've been riding that since 1992.
Wow.
And kept at it. So in the meantime, though, marriage wasn't going particularly well, because I said, I want to go back and get my MBA. I've been supporting business and no one takes me seriously. And my ex-husband said, I don't think you need that. I don't know why you'd ever want to go back to school. I got no support. And in general, he was not supportive of many of the things I wanted to do. I said, let's build our deck. We don't have a lot of money. We can do it ourselves. He was like, no. I said, that's it. You know, at the end of it, I was hiring people to do it with me. So I got a divorce, and around that time, I said, I really want to get my MBA. Where can I go? And given my Mount Holyoke College background, and I was at the director level of a not-for-profit mental health agency, I could have gone to Sloan or Wharton or, you know, any of the schools, the high-end schools in the Northeast, but they were primarily weekend programs. And I'm like, I need a sabbatical. I'm 40, little over 40. What am I going to do with my life? And I had traveled the Northeast when I worked for the insurance company, from anywhere from South Carolina to Nashville up to Maine, and Buffalo, New York. And I had a person I had met before I got married, and we'd kept in touch. Not anyone I was really romantically involved with back then, but I knew he had apartments in Buffalo. And I, on a whim, took the GMATs, and of course, scored very well. And I applied to the University of Buffalo, because I thought, I went to a great small school, liberal arts, really good, but maybe I'll take a change and try a big
major university, major research university.
And, I got a full scholarship.
Wow.
To their day program. It was like instant. I put my SAN. My mother, of course, corrected it for me, and explained how I got to be where I am and about the traumatic brain injury and all my work experience. They took a look at my resume and were like, you can have any job you're qualified for on campus. Please come.
Well, let me just pause for a second here. I have so much energy filling in about so many of the points that you're making. First of all, I want to ask, are your parents still with us, Susan?
No.
Okay, both of them are gone. Okay. And did your parents end up going to college after they came here?
Well, my grandparents are the ones who came here.
Oh, your grandparents came. Your parents were born
my
here. Oh,
parents. My mother was actually a member of Mensa. She was brilliant, but she almost didn't go to college because my grandfather was saving the money for the son in the family.
Of course.
And the high school principal went to my grandfather and said she must go to college. She went to Hofstra, got a BBA.
In New York.
And so my father went after a stint in the Navy.
I love your knowledge of all of this. I feel like I want to park this. I feel like I might want to have a conversation about that on another podcast conversation because it's so relevant to today and you have so much memory and information. So I want to like park that. And maybe if you'd be willing, we could have another conversation about that because I'm very inspired by that. So, okay. So let's come back to the choice you made. You know, you were married to someone and then it felt like you were in resistance all the time. You kept getting no, stop, block. And at some point you came into your own and said, this isn't working for me. You ended up divorced and then you made strong personal decisions despite this TBI, which I didn't even know about the TBI. And you ended up in Buffalo, which is one of my favorite places because my daughter lives there. She went to and graduated from UB and she still lives there. And that's how you got to Western New York, which includes, I'm kind of speaking this out because remember, we're here to inform others, our listeners or viewers, inspire them, motivate them to understand, some of them are going to be younger, they're going to be under 40. And here you are 40, which is old to some people, it's young to us now, but making choices and taking, despite difficulties and things into your own hands and moving forward. I really love everything about this. So now we end up, getting an MBA. You were in your early 40s to mid 40s at that time. And what was it, an MBA degree or what was the degree?
It's an MBA. I was 45 when I got it. I was the oldest student in my cohort, which was always interesting. And
so now you're there, you're on a full ride, you're in Western New York, you're getting your MBA. Go ahead, please continue on. I'm very intrigued.
So, it turns out the guy I met in Connecticut in 1983 had apartments. I moved in his apartment and we got really friendly and we still see each other. In fact, I'm never getting married again, but, and he's a Vietnam vet. He has serious PTSD and issues. So I did move in with him briefly because I got a job for installing electronic medical record software in federally qualified health centers throughout upstate New York. And it required a lot of travel in the winter and by myself. And he was like, no. And he gave me an engagement ring, essentially, although we didn't call it that, a promise ring of sorts.
Yeah.
And asked me to move in with him because he didn't like me where he couldn't find me. So that's his problem, not mine. But that didn't last, I think, 6 years. And I couldn't take it anymore. So kind of fast forwarding through things. I was looking for a house to buy because I wanted to move out and I wanted enough with land. And I couldn't find, this is just as COVID was getting going, things were really shutting down. Nothing was happening. And I was on realtor.com or whatever. And I saw this farm for sale. And one reason I picked Buffalo was it's cheap compared to Connecticut. I mean, really cheap.
Yeah,
And
yeah, of course.
prices when I first came up back in 2000, early 2000s, I had actually been here in the mid 90s when I worked for the insurance company. You could get a farmhouse on 100 acres for $100,000. Fast forward to the 10 years later, it wasn't quite that cheap, but still very reasonable. And again, I had a director level salary, so I could afford on my own whatever I wanted to buy within reason. And then my mother died in let's see, 2019, April 1st, 2019. And she had a house on Cape Cod that she'd renovated, and it turned out no mortgage or anything. And she actually invested money she inherited from my grandparents, who were also very frugal. And so my sister and I split close to $1 million because of that house on the Cape. That she invested in. And I took $100,000, and when I found the barn, and it was only $425,000 for this
entire campus.
Yeah, right here.
425 for the entire campus of 56. Wow.
Yeah, and so the indoors for this is one of the largest ones in the area. I won't say it's the largest, but it was a little rundown, and I knew it needed work. But $425,000 I got a residential mortgage because I live in the peak of the barn.
I mean, Susan, I live in a community in northern Arizona. My 30-something daughter is looking at buying a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house for $800,000 on a parcel, a stamp postage lot. So that's why I get it.
Yeah. It's unbelievably, and until recently, housing prices were quite low because it's one of the few areas actually that has housing. Yeah. And they've revamped downtown, as you know. It's gorgeous now.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of real estate available anymore on the market. So I got lucky when I hit the sweet spot of buying this place, and it was a very motivated seller. He originally wanted, I think, $600,000, and
wow,
no,
yeah, wow.
And he left a 4-horse slant trailer, a truck, a tractor, all the farm implements. I mean, a bunch of stuff. I mean, he also left kind of a mess. First thing I had to do was put $2,600 in gutters, because I had a flood pretty much whenever it rained right on the door outside my indoor arena. It was a mess.
Yeah.
So I've since traded the truck, the tractor, and gotten new heavy duty stuff. If you want to pull a 4-horse slant, you have to have a diesel. Even a big V8 engine isn't going to do it. So I've learned a lot. But because of my family, I think, my grandparents came here from a country they were essentially, if they didn't leave, they'd be killed.
Right.
And my grandfather, actually, one of them left some money so I could go to college, to a private college. I had an actual full ride at UConn, University of Connecticut, because I was a Connecticut State Scholar. But I wouldn't do that. And then, so I got to go to Mount Holyoke when it was cheap. My first year was $7,000 a year. My last year was $14,000. But I still, I had a student loan. I paid that off my first year.
Yeah, I graduated just a few years later in 1984. So we're about the same era. And yeah, same thing. I was lucky and blessed. My parents did pay for my education, which of course I've never, ever once taken for granted. Maybe when I was in college, I took it for granted, but I really am grateful for that. And yeah, it was the same thing. Today you're talking 70,000, 75,000 a year. You know, it's crazy. So yeah, we're definitely going to have that other conversation because there's a little more to the story just came in. But anyway, so keep going. So what I want to say here is, the reason I wanted to have this conversation, Susan, is there's so much built up. We see so much on media and social media about what other people are doing, and it looks like they're living the dream, and it looks like they have something that I can't have. But what you've shared with us so far is the work. You first of all, you were lucky and you were gifted horseback riding lessons at age 7, and you were hooked at that point. That seems to be clear. You had this passion. You had your difficulty with the TBI and the recuperation time of not being able to ride, but still doing horse therapy. So there's been this passion that's been consistent. But you did make choices. You made hard choices. You made through commitment. You compromised, because otherwise that money would still be in the bank and you'd be, earning whatever in a good market. So you made some compromises with the future that was unknown to you. So I guess that might be called risk, some
it's
risk.
A huge risk right now.
A huge risk. And, but yet here you are, you get to be around these beautiful horses. Do you have horses that you care for
I mean, right now I'm getting 2 more horses in next week. I'll be at 19 horses, I think. I mean, it's an ebb and flow like any apartment building. You get tenants come and go. So horse boarding, and that's all I do right now is horse boarding, is up and down. So I've got a horse leaving on Saturday because of the boarder's personal issues, not anything having to do with the barn. And I've got 2 more coming in the following week. So having had horses in my backyard, I'm pretty aware of the commitment and the work required. And being a good Mount Holyoke College grad and MBA graduate, I did a business plan, which promptly went out the window with COVID because of staffing. Finding staff as of late is extremely difficult. I am lucky at the moment. I have, I had one person working for me, unfortunately from the Philippines, and he quit just suddenly on me last year. And so now I make sure I have a lead person who's here 5 or 6 hours a day. And then I have secondary people helping, because I went from 13 horses up to 22.
Wow.
And this is one of the cats. Come back.
The barn cats.
This one wandered into the barn. As a
Oh,
kitten. I think her mother got hit out on the road, and I found another kitten dead, and this one managed to come in, and she won't leave my apartment. Like I said, it's in the barn.
Yeah.
I have 2 other cats that were gifted with the barn. They came with the barn, and they're semi-feral. So when she was very little, the other cats pretty much tried to kill her. So they're outside until winter, as you know, sets in Buffalo. And then the feral cats might come in at night.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Excuse me. So yeah, it's a fair amount of work. And I didn't realize I was going to do stall cleaning as much as I have been, but it also keeps me in shape. I'll be 66 in January, and I can lift, a 50-pound bale of hay without too much issues, because that's every spring. And I've always got that, or 40 to 50-pound bags of grain.
Right. And for full disclosure, today when we were at the time that we were supposed to meet, I texted you. I said, "Hey, are we going on?" And you were like, "Oh, I lost track of time," because this is your world, animals and nature, the environment, it doesn't wait. You mentioned you have some flooding in the back pasture. I mean, the idea of living the dream of going from being a person in tech business, a business working person in technology. And then, of course, you always had horses in your life, but then really going forward, otherwise you would still be working. Maybe you would have retired by now, but you otherwise would still be working in a desk job, doing, in business, doing high tech now at this point,
Right.
such
But
an
remember,
expert.
my undergrad degree was in biology from Mount Holyoke. And
Yeah.
I was going to be a veterinarian and decided I don't have what it takes to be a vet. So I switched to field ecology and environmental studies as the coursework I was taking, kind of a concentration. So I am now able to get back to what I really thought I would do for a living. I have 56 acres to manage. I've got wetlands, I've got a pond, I have pasture, I have woods, and the decision, as you know, October's hunting season. My next door neighbors hunt, and I let him hunt on my land because we have an overpopulation of deer, huge population.
Yeah.
And people say, well, how can you do that? It's just that you have to manage this. So I have actually the education and a little bit of experience dealing with.
It's amazing. Also, where you are in Western New York, this isn't sport. It's food. They hunt to eat. They hunt to. I get. Yeah, this isn't game or sport that they're involved in. I know. I mean, obviously, I understand that. So, yeah, it's a lot. It's a big story. I guess we're just going to be coming to a close soon, but I want to sort of ask you. So, first of all, the issue of staffing is a big thing for every business today. There's a awkward, extremely strange thing where so many people seem to need money and need jobs and need work and want to, work, but then there's so many people who are hiring who can't find people. This work that you'd be hiring is actually, active, it's engaged, it's outdoors, it's hard, I get it, but there's no desk job here. So yeah, and also to the point that you made about being our age and being able to lift a 50-pound bale of hay, I do work out, I do go to the gym. This just happened this morning. My across the street neighbor told me that his uncle died last week at age 61 from basically being sedentary, working a security job where you're sitting at a desk all day, every day for years on end. And that's not your world. I choose to walk and hike and be outdoors myself. So that
my mother was 80 and she was by hand with a clamshell post hole digger putting in a fence around her property. So
yeah, strong constitution. Yeah.
And stay physically fit. My father, actually both my parents died of cancer, but my father died at the age of 67 from cancer, probably from growing up in New York City and working in a shop. But that's the other story. But at any rate, yeah, I intend to stay physically active. I was a bodybuilder in my 20s and 30s. So because the doctor told me, because I have scoliosis, you have to keep your muscles strong. I've been lifting since high school. And,
wow.
So, yeah, I just have always, I guess, known what I need. And there, when I got married or when I was living with my friend, I subjugate that down to help the person I'm with. And I'm pretty good caretaker, but I can only take it for so long. And then I'm like, I have to live for me. and
Right.
do that.
Right. And also for you to be the proprietor of this place, this special facility with, 15, 19, 20, 22 horses. I mean, gosh, I could feel the energy of all that horse energy, because that's a whole other thing about horse energy. And I worked many, many years ago with a horse therapy organization. I'm a fundraiser by my career, by training, and they were getting started, and they used horse therapy for veterans with
So I'm going
PTSD.
to, that's my next chapter. So I have this property. It's a wonderful property. I have room to put up a shed row, a smaller barn, and do equine assisted psychotherapy. Turns out I got a boarder. She's licensed in Pennsylvania. She's getting licensed in New York. We're going to start a not-for-profit, and we're going to do equine assisted psychotherapy. So that's not riding horses. That's just using the horses in psychotherapy.
Wow. It
And that,
also allows the horses a beautiful end of life
yeah,
after, and it allows them to still work.
yeah.
Horses need to work, like they are
And I can
working.
rescue.
Yeah.
My horse is a rescue. I've got some rescues in the barn.
I also worked with a woman in Eastern New York, on the eastern side of New York State. And she has, I can't remember the name of it right now, but she has a horse rescue organization. Wow. Susan, I'm very inspired by this conversation. I'm devoutly enamored of the idea of offering equine therapy for psychosocial, trauma, or, whatever.
Traumatic brain injury survivors, veterans, many of
Right.
them had traumatic brain injuries or just trauma.
One of the
Victims of
things that I
domestic
know,
abuse, all adults. That's what my
one of the
plan.
things that I know for sure is we've never had any COVID trauma mitigation. We never had COVID trauma mitigation. Millions of people died in this country from COVID. And then we just had to move on. So we haven't, so there's trauma, there's residual trauma from COVID in that way. Now you're going to work with adults, not the children. That's a big need as well. But any way, shape, or form, I do see the potential for that. And I want to wish you the very, very best. I'll be happy to have offline a conversation about fundraising if you're going to,
Yep.
do a nonprofit, et cetera. And I want to thank you so much. This is so rich. I know we're going to already talk again. I'm already looking forward to that. But this is so rich. I just want to really bring to mind for our viewers and listeners that maybe really coming to the present is the most important thing, because if you live in the future wishing and dreaming and wanting something and thinking you can never have it, or thinking it would be better if you were doing that, it would be, all your prayers would be answered, all the things, it's, as we've learned from you today, it's commitment, it's risk, it's work, it's compromise. It takes strength, it takes vigor, it takes money, it takes, audacity, basically. And I don't know if you would say it's all worth it.
Oh, it's definitely, I mean, I will say that. Definitely worth it. And imparting wisdom, I guess, is when you see the opportunity, it's there presenting to you, take advantage of it, because it's gone in an instant. I'm lucky things worked out. I mean, my mother died, that was sad, but I got $100,000 to do what she would have wanted me to do.
Right.
And all these things, just, you have to see the opportunity in the moment and not say, well, I'll get around to it later. You got to do it now. And you have to know in your gut, with some planning, this is going to work and I will make it work.
So you have no way of knowing this because, you don't really know me, but right now I'm sitting in a small bungalow in Sedona, Arizona, which is the exact manifestation of what you just spoke out. So I did think about it for years. I did dream about it. I wanted to, be in Sedona. But the key was what you just said, which I did plan. I did know my numbers. Okay, that was a part of what the discussion, 100,000, 425, is that worth it? 600, no, too much, etc. I knew my numbers. I really knew my numbers. I knew my risk tolerance. I knew I was ready. And I drove by a neighborhood I had been looking at for 4 years. And I saw an open house sign. And I also tuned in to the inspiration from my own mother in this case. And long story short, I found this place. I made an offer, and 9 days later, I closed. And to the point that you made, it happens, we're talking about our mothers today. My mother was Mount Holyoke class of 1956. I felt that there was divine intervention because I think this would have been something that she would have loved and wanted and even wished for in her day. You don't divorce in those days. Life was different in her day. And I really think she would have loved it here and really wished that she had, as we say, a room of one's own. And so what you had no way of knowing that, what you just spoke out, I'm literally in this moment, the living expression of what you shared. So I'm going to be listening to this conversation. I always listen to all my podcasts that I do. I want to thank you for coming, and I'm going to type out those exact words that you just spoke through for the podcast notes. So Susan, thank you for your time today. I really appreciate your sharing your wisdom, your experience, and I'll contact you about the other conversation about having grandparents as immigrants and, how you came forth from that. So thank you, my friend. Wishing you the best. Take good care.